Okay, I want to start doing deep dives on TV shows that I think there's so much more to them, and I love talking about TV shows, movies, books, and I feel like there's so much to individual characters, so much to individual like storylines and plots, and more to shows than I think meets the eyes with some things. And Modern Family is a prime fucking example of a show that is not just a sitcom in any means necessary. Is this show just a sitcom? So I know I am kind of going backwards with this. If you have not watched Modern Family, you will not be able to start with this video because I'm going to be starting, what is it, episode 6 or 7 of season 10. So if you have not watched Modern Family, stop watching right now because I'm going to talk about what I want to start with this deep dive series that I want to do with these TV shows, and then I'm going to start with Modern Family. Is I'm going to be starting with the death of Dee Dee and the grief process that the show focuses on. With, I mean, Jay's one aspect, but I feel like he can be a whole separate thing. I really want to focus on Mitchell and Claire's reactions and grief processes, and how the show portrayed two people that were raised by the same person, and or the same two people, and how different their relationships were and how different they processed her death. It's a very, very different way that I've seen people do a death, because even later down the show, if again, I'm going to assume you kept watching, you've seen the whole show. Like when Phil's dad dies later in the show, I feel like it's such a different thing. It's such a bigger impact than when Dee Dee dies. Even though you could say, I mean, Frank was in the show a little more, I think, than Dee Dee was, but I feel like overall, I feel like they both had a big enough presence to the audience that it goes to show the kind of parent you are and the kind of person that you are. Because even though she was like really a good person to Mitch, it was what people tried to say, or what the show tries to portray, that she loves Mitch and that Mitch is her favorite and that she treats Mitch the best and stuff. But she really doesn't, because the fact that she uses Mitch for all of her little tasks, and to give bad news to family members, and to like make everybody else forgive her through Mitch. Like, she puts all the burden and all the hardship that she causes on to Mitch, and makes Mitch be the one to like mend it. That's why I've never really thought that she was necessarily the best mom to Mitch either, but she definitely was way better to Mitch than she was to Claire. And I think Mitch kind of making Claire feel bad almost for not grieving her mom, and for continuously bringing up bad stories. And the thing is that I don't think Mitch, which was annoying me about it, was Mitch wasn't putting in perspective that these were all the stories that she had to tell. Mitch was like, oh, okay, let's just tell good stories. And in like Claire's perspective, she's over here like, all right, when are these supposed good moments? When she pretty much tells Claire she looks like a whore with how she dresses sometimes. She's told Claire that she's old and that she doesn't maintain her house, and that she's not a good mom, not a good housekeeper. You know, some that maintains housekeeping. She's saying she's bad at that she can't take care of her home. She literally, I don't think people realize this sometimes because they try to play it off as a joke. She told Mitch to tell Claire she can't sit with the family. Claire sat with probably Jay and Gloria and Manny at like some side table, while Mitch and the rest of the family sat with her. Like, I think the show really portrayed Dee Dee as a terrible mother to Claire, and then when the grief happened, they very much made Claire just forgive Dee Dee, and it was bygones be bygones, even though, like, yeah, she did a little bit to like mend fences. But I personally was always so surprised that Claire continued contact with her, that Claire continued to like be, that would continue to be around somebody so toxic and somebody so like negative to her. And then it's going to be so interesting to go on these deep dives, because I want to talk about the impact that Dee Dee had on Claire, and how Dee Dee impacted Claire so much that it seeped into her parenting, and how she tried so much to not be like Dee Dee, and she gives Dee Dee shit for like being like, oh, I'm a better mom than you, is what Claire would say to Dee Dee sometimes. but she would read their diaries. She would read their phone and text messages. She was a lot like Dee Dee in a lot of ways, and it just goes to show the show does so well with family trauma, with cycles being repeated through generations and shit like that. Generational trauma going down and being passed down to families. That generational trauma being changed through Jay. I just think the show is so good, and I'm so excited to start doing this deep dive series with this. And I just thought starting with their grief process, like, I thought would be so good. Like, I thought the way they did Mitch's grief process was so good. The way they did Claire's grief process, I think they could have done better. But I do think overall it goes to show, I mean, death does change things, you know what I mean? There's forgiveness in death. There's different perspective. There's understanding. So I understand that as well. But I'm also like, I remember season 5, 6, there was like so many times where I'm like, why does she still fucking talk to Dee Dee? I understand that's her mom, but like, I cut off family members. I don't even talk to my own brother. So like, I feel like people, there's lines. You gotta have boundaries. You gotta have guidelines. And I feel like that was one thing Claire never really cemented with Dee Dee. So that's why I think the death hit her so differently than Mitch, because like she said, my last conversation with Dee Dee was an argument. We were fighting. While Mitch's last with his mom was, oh, you're the best, I love you, you know, oh, can't wait to see you next time, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was always, you know, good times. And for Claire, it was just never like that. And I just feel like people just weren't understanding that enough. I feel like every time she was like bitching about Dee Dee, I was like, fuck yeah, Claire, your mom is a fucking asshole. And everybody else would be like, oh, you know, you're kind of being harsh, you know how she is, you stop making excuses for her. That's what Mitch would do time and time and time and time again. He would make excuses for Dee Dee and then put Claire in a spot where she would have no choice but to run to Jay. And that's why her and Jay have such a great relationship, is because she had nobody in her corner but her dad. Because Mitch was taking her mom's side 9 out of 10 times over taking Claire's. Even though they did have a great sibling relationship, it could be better. Their relationship as siblings too would be a great video, because they grow as individuals and as siblings. But they goes to show that they chose sides. Like he said, they chose sides in the divorce. They chose sides during their whole relationship. Like, there was always two teams. So it does go to show why they did grieve the death of their mother so differently, because she was a different parent to each of them.